And now comes the interesting part about how you're going to save your money. Don't be fooled. There's a trick. Great. That's just exactly what you want to do.
G'day folks, it's DIY Guy 123 here, bringing you another do-it-yourself video. We've got an old Rototiller. It's a Craftsman model. They're all pretty well the same, the rear tine ones anyway. The gearbox where the axle goes through for the drive wheels, it was leaking at the seals on either side of that. Often when a seal goes bad, it's because the bearing went bad and that allowed the shaft to move more and more and wipe out the seals. I went on the web and looked up part numbers for this model, and the bearings were like 25 bucks a piece and the seals were almost $20 a piece. I'd be into over $100. So I went to my local bearing supply company. They sold me 2 bearings for $7.90 and 2 seals for $3.45 each. Now the seals aren't quite the same, but I'm gonna show you how to, in the end, make it the same as it was before. So stay tuned. Okay, so you wanna get the front end of the Rototiller and the rear end of the Rototiller off the ground so that the wheels are free. Now you're looking at just the shaft, and at this point, you can really get a good look in there. I'll move this up and down, and there's definitely play there. If your bearings are wiped out, this play will be excessive, and you'll be leaking here. The seals, I think, are simply old and worn out, and we're gonna get those out of the way here, and I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. There's nothing really to pry on. You can't get behind the seal. I've seen people take a screwdriver and pound in right there and pierce this part of the seal and then pry it out. Show you a little trick I learned. Great. That's just exactly what you want to do. And I've got this inexpensive slide hammer kit. And here's what the kit looks like. I'll put a link to it in the description. It has an adapter here that screws on the end like that. I can take a wood screw and a washer and drop it down like that. And now I'd have that screw attached to my slide hammer right there. Okay, so there I've got a hole, and now I've got my screw. Okay, now you don't want to screw that in too far, because if you do, you'll be coming in contact with the bearing. Here we go. So here's what it looks like. Now you have distorted that seal. In order to remove the bearing, you need a set of snap ring pliers and wear eye protection. You squeeze the snap ring together and out it comes. And then to get the bearings out, I often use like a pick. Work it forward a little bit. Okay, so let's give it a check to see if it's bad. Doesn't make any noise, but don't be fooled. There's a trick. You actually have to clean all the fluid out of this to check them, because the fluid will mask some worn bearing sounds. So you take some brake cleaner, clean all the oil out of it, and then it sounds like this. 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah. Faulty. So after you get the bearing out, you want to inspect the shaft and clean it very well in there. Here's the new bearing. Now, it is a greased bearing, which comes with a grease seal. And if this was in a high-speed application, you'd want to peel off the side of the bearing that's going to go towards the oil, the gear oil. You'd want to remove that seal, and you could pick that out right here. Now, I'm not going to do that. This is a very low-speed application, so the extra heat built up from the thicker grease compared to the gear oil won't cause any problems. So I'm going to just slide that guy right on there and right into the bore, put the snap ring back in, and retain that bearing in place. The snap rings, you always want to hear them snap into the groove. There and there. And then I like to give it a spin. And if it's in properly, it'll spin easy like that. And now comes the interesting part about how you're going to save your money. So these seals are too expensive. Here's what the new seal looks like for just a general application. This is what the reinforced seal looks like for this Rototiller application. And what you're going to do is, it looks like it's just rubber here, but it's in fact steel coated by rubber, this part, and then this is just steel. You want to take a bench grinder and grind all of this black off, all this rubber off, so that all you're left with is that steel piece. And that's going to go in after the new seal and protect the new seal. Okay, and there we go. So the seal's going to go on first with the spring side of the seal facing it in to keep the oil in. And then this goes right behind it. And then I'll drive those two in. Let's put a little bit of grease on this seal just to help it ride on that shaft easier.
And if the shaft had any burrs on it or big corrosion, I would clean that off first, but this one is pretty clean. Okay, there's the seal. And next, and I've cleaned this off really well. And I also took a hammer to flatten out that spot where it bent when I used the puller to extract it. I'm gonna drive this metal backing plate in almost all the way. To do that, I'm gonna take a piece of wood and just do a little at a time. There, perfect. So next I'm gonna take a little dab of silicone and seal up that little drill hole that I made, and then grease this shaft. On the wheel goes. Insert the pin. You fill it up with gear oil, and you're done.